Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
The DOJ just dropped another 3 million pages of Epstein files, including 2,000 videos and 180,000 images, but people are still saying key videos, audio, and logs are missing. What do you think is actually still being held back, and why? The actual murders of the girls. My theory is, they are particularly worried about particularly murder, because it is one of the very few crimes that has no statute of limitations. It is one of the very few crimes that has no statute of limitations. It doesn't have to be. South Australia changed its laws to allow prosecution of child sexual abuse, which occurred many decades ago, and also our High Court allowed civil cases over 60 years later. Known sealed legal documents back when Epstein got his sweetheart deal that names co-conspirators. Those are likely CIA documents. Yay, we need the CIA documents, but their track record is so poor it would be hard to believe anyway. They should be all prosecuted, not redacting the names. Yup, when the victims' names, the only thing they should be redacting, are released, like with the one internal FBI email listing all the names for them to redact, yet the only name, info redacted, was the FBI agent who sent it. You know they only care about the rapists. Shit, we know that Trump was referenced over 1 million times from when Congress was able to search the unredacted files, yet we only have 38,000 mentions of the 1 million plus. They are even fucking up the redactions of the perpetrators, as we have seen in real time, where they released a bunch of documents mentioning Trump and others, then the DOJ took those files down and haven't put them back, or did, but then took them down permanently after. It's not a question of if there's a cover-up, it's how big of a cover-up is it and who all is involved. So many people are willing to go to jail for decades to help the rich and powerful out of this mess. Remember, they're only releasing the sanitized stuff. The stuff they're okay with us seeing. The stuff they've cleaned for our eyes, the stuff they think doesn't link Trump. Which means there's stuff they don't want us to see, stuff that is really bad. No more than 5 to 10% of the files have been released. They are holding back the most damning info, the stuff that would cause the president to be immediately impeached, even by his own party. Do you really think he could do anything that would get him impeached by his own cult, party? I don't. Every line he has crossed that has come out, every single thing, they have completely overlooked and blown it off as if none of it matters to them. Because none of it matters to them. From grabbing P*** to mocking the disabled, to the racism and misogyny, to the lies, to the pedophilia, to his 34 felony convictions, none of it matters to them. He could be Satan himself and none of it would matter to them. That is a cult, not a party. I went to a dinner party at a public restaurant recently and someone made a joke about the Epstein files. Another person then said, complete straight-faced, that everything in them was a lie. When asked to repeat, they said the same thing, no hesitation and even more seriously. So yeah, they don't care. I want to believe that if the really bad shit came out, like videos of Trump sexually assaulting, possibly murdering girls came out, that it would lead to a situation where they'd be forced to impeach, remove, arrest him, but honestly I don't think so. I honestly believe part of this massive push for generative AI has been so that in the coming months, years, as more evidence of this shit comes out, they can just say, oh that's AI, and the slop-brain morons in his cult will believe it. It seems quite clear that anything truly incriminating has been held back. This tracks with the way they have just been unreleasing anything mildly incriminating that gets discovered by the public. And also anything that was released that looks like it would be incriminating is redacted. It's Bannon's fire hose of shit strategy on a big scale, which makes sense given how many texts and emails he has in there. They said once upon a time that they had 50 terabytes of materials. They released like 300 gigabytes, then unreleased like 100 gigabytes of that. And many datasets in the files are duplicated 3 to 5 times. I think they gave enough volume of bullshit to keep us busy looking for anything meaningful and made it just spicy enough to make us think we were getting the truth. Who knows what is there? I'm not sure the worst of it necessarily even exists anymore. Many of the documents that were available before are no longer available. I've been looking into the Lithuanian connections and pretty much most of them are gone, or keywords used to find them are redacted now. The months surrounding 9/11 are missing. Came here to say this exact thing. I do think there's abuse and torture of children in there like others on this thread. But in terms of institutional damage that would be done by releasing them, I think it's the stuff about 9/11. I got really sucked into a lot of 9/11 conspiracies, so I'm very intrigued by this one. The why, for me, is that this ring is still in operation. These deplorable men didn't up and stop being pedophiles because Epstein died. I suspect access to that particular supply chain dried up. Andrew and crowd were still chasing after Epstein even after he'd been convicted and jailed because he was their supplier. If they'd had an equally good pimp, they'd have gone with that one. Just like a power vacuum or drug route drying up, there is now a financial incentive to create new routes. There are people who will stop, lay low, but there are also people who won't. Everything immediately before, during and after 9/11 has been completely unreleased. This is correct that financial documents and others are missing around 1999 to 2002. However, I don't think that necessarily means it's 9/11 related. I think we also need to investigate Trump and Epstein's relationship during that time period. Reporting says that Trump and Epstein had a falling out in 2004. The birthday card Trump sent to Epstein was in 2003. There's a good chance that the 1999 to 2002 gap is because it was too difficult to scrub Trump out versus just withholding as many documents as possible. In the 1990s, wealthy people hunted civilians in Bosnia, Google, Sarajevo siege. I'm convinced there's a connection. Leon Black, billionaire investor with Jeffrey Epstein. He is co-conspirator in the files for raping multiple children, and was sued for raping a 16-year-old girl with Down syndrome. Trump awarded him by giving his son a position in his administration. 37 people work in WH are in the hashtag Epstein files. Raping. 9/11 ton of files missing between 1999 to 2003. 1999 to 2003 is too big a gap to be related to just 9/11. There was also the dot-com crash, Iraq War. No one knows what's held back, because no one knows what's already been released. If you're reading 75 pages per hour, 8 hours a day, it'll take you about 38 years to read. Say a good chunk are junk emails and don't need reading, which I know is the case. You could shave some years off. One thing we haven't seen is financial records. There's a receipt here, a bank account number there, but no financial statements, no money transfers. For a financier with hundreds of millions and extensive hard assets, these records should be extensive. Financial records are really the smoking gun because it's concrete proof of a link and traceable. Once you start to follow the money, you can uncover the entire network. I stumbled upon one last night. It didn't seem to have a whole lot of relevance, but maybe I didn't know what I was looking for. Keyword Panama, or Panama City maybe, beach in Florida, should find it. Here's the thing, we have LLMs, NLP tech, chunking, and vector embedding. You can search for any concept imaginable, even without knowing the exact words that were used. I've worked on larger data sets. It can be done. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people going through these files. It's not just one journalist reading each page. We also know things have been held back due to documented evidence from trials, mainly evidence pertaining to conspirators. It's not like the thousands of people are working together to divide and conquer in an effective way though. I assume people have certain keywords and then go down a sort of rabbit hole of chasing certain other names or keywords. I don't have a good guess of what's being withheld. All I know from having dealt with enough liars is that I know Trump and his people are being very cagey about the files for a group of people that aren't guilty of any wrongdoing and have supposedly released everything that US citizens would like to know about. When an organized crime group gets taken down, usually we develop a pretty good understanding of what their world looks like. If a cult gets raided and taken apart, we know how they'd recruit members, brainwash them, we'd know their rituals, we'd know what they believe in, who they consider their enemy, etc., etc. Right now, even as somebody that's been clued into Epstein for a decade now, I have trouble threading all of these different pieces of information about this guy into a narrative of what his world really looked like. Right now, with all the information that exists, we can really only perceive the rough shape and approximation of J.E.'s reach, influence, and roughly, some of, the organizations and people he was affiliated with. This is still too opaque because the gaps in Epstein and Maxwell's story are too large to turn into a story that makes sense. Everything from 1999, 2000 and 2001 is missing, and everybody knows it. How would they know audio, video is being held back if it wasn't released? Unless those people are some of the members of Congress who got access to the full files. The DOJ themselves know what to hold back. They've seen it and they don't want Trump incriminated further than he already has been. Because they are shielding and supporting a pedophile. And they don't care. It's not that they don't care, they work for Trump. We could easily fill a prison in 3 years, either these Trump perverts, sycophants, and profiteers. If all had been released, a lot of people would be in cuffs already, and yet, here we are, nothing is happening. Maxwell is still not talking and pleading the fifth. Clearly, lots is still hiding. TBH, enough has been released to arrest many people, but the DOJ and FBI refuse to do their jobs as they both are now solely working for Trump. I wouldn't believe a word Maxwell had to say at this point anyways. Her lawyer was publicly offering to trade her exoneration of Trump for a pardon. This feels like a fever dream. What do you think is actually still being held back, and why? CSAM for sure, possibly straight up murder as well. I've decided that every post I see with this asshole I will reply. Fuck Trump. If it involves our treasonous president, it's not coming out. Which is a shame because everyone knows that piece of shit is guilty. The real crimes haven't even been hinted at. It's all about the money. Don't forget that, it's all about the money. As horrendous as the pedophilia acts have been, they are just a diversion. Nothing matters anymore. Nobody is going to jail so long as MAGA is running a pedophile protection program. Anyone living in reality has seen enough already. I know. I'm so fucking tired of these headlines. I sigh and roll my eyes at every single one because we all know nothing will come of this. Wake me up when he's either been arrested or croaks. I have yet to one single email between Trump or his staff and Epstein or his staff, and I seriously doubt that none exist. There's tons of stuff on Trump, though Trump is notorious for not using email.